You're watching Global Trade This Week with Pete Mento and Doug Draper.
Hello, gentle listeners and viewers of our fine program. My name is Pete Mento, and with me, as always, is my ride or die. I don't even know where to start with this one. The Superman to my Batman, the Wolverine to my Cyclops. I don't know. We could go in a million different directions with the comic angles. But my friend Doug Draper, Doug, I've missed you, Doug.
Yeah, you've been a worldly. You've been a worldly Well, not about worldly, but you've been traveling. Maybe worldly, if you can consider the Bahamas.
Yeah,
so worldly travel.
It has been worldly travel. I just booked a trip to Hawaii that we had planned, my boys and I, but we finally did it, pulled the trigger on it. So I'm going to take a vacation after starting a new job, like the idiot that I am. So I'm going to be that guy. Doug. I love being that guy.
That's all right.
But I know we got a time crunch on today, so rather than listening to my endless droning on, what do you say we just get right down to it, Doug?
Let's get her done. Let's drop the hammer. This is good. I'm super excited about halftime, Pete. I have to say that. So we'll have to wait till halftime to jump into it. But the first topic that I have is related to U.S. lifting the travel ban, international travel ban to vaccinated visitors. That was last week, I believe. 33 countries. China is one of them. So that's great. Getting back to business, another angle of normalcy, which I think is important. I think we all do. But the angle is, what does that mean for air freight? And the date, so I'll say it. I always said, is it a yes, no, or maybe, as far as is it good or bad? So I'm going to cover all three of them. So I walk away with, yes, my answer was correct, because I said yes, no, and maybe. But anyway, here's the deal. Number one, the timing of it looks like it's November 1st, which coincidentally is right whenever air freight would start ramping up at the last minute for holiday season. Now, this year's a little different, and the supply chain's all whacked out, right? But generally speaking, you got the ocean freight trying to make the shelves. If that doesn't work, you flip over to air freight. There is still going to be a lot of, oh my God, this has to get on the shelf in time for the holiday season. And that usually happens right around October and November. So additionally, there's a lot of travelers that like to come into the United States for holidays. I was blown away at how many people go to Disney World and Disneyland for the holidays. So I think my point there is this influx of people on airplanes going to negatively impact capacity for cargo? And my answer to that is maybe, because the timing is pretty not odd, but it's not great. Number two, there will be travelers that have been pent up and wanting to come to the U.S. We've talked about the roaring 20s. So you're going to have some additional capacity, maybe there'll be some belly freight cargo coming over. So is there going to be too many people on these planes to cover the explosion of air freight that's going to come in last minute? Possibly. So is there going to be increased capacity in there? Yeah, there certainly will be, but it's just a matter of what's that mean? It's not going to mean air freight's going to go down, in my opinion. It's not like, oh my God, we got all these passenger planes and they have the top level is 50% full because travelers want to come, but not as many as we initially thought. So that means the bellies of the aircraft have lots of capacity. Therefore, the rates will go down. Sorry, not going to happen. You're still going to have very expensive air freight rates for the foreseeable future into and through the holidays. And then the other question, so that is, were the rates going to go down? No, they're not going to go down. And ultimately, is the problem solved with air freight capacity coming in the United States? And the answer to that is no. It is one release valve. It's happening in a very odd time right before the holiday season. So I'm glad that the borders are opening. I'm really glad that another checkbox or another check mark for normalcy as we try to get back to normalcy in the world. But it doesn't mean that air cargo problems are solved. So I guess that would be my final answer. I don't know. What's your take on increased capacity and humans now entering the United States that are vaccinated?
Well, can we just start with a hooray?
Yes.
Like, hooray. Hooray. Hooray.
Yes.
I can fly back to England now and have some frosty pints in a nice dark pub with my friends, my friend Richard, who I miss terribly. watch a rugby match, and slowly fade into a wonderful Saturday. I mean, I can finally go to Germany at Christmas, hopefully with my daughter, and show her how fantastic that is. I haven't figured out how to turn off the notifications yet on my new work computer, so I apologize for the clickety clicks. Everybody just get over it.
Yep.
The thing, however, that you bring up that's so important is there was almost this burst of joy beyond the hooray for, hey, let's go have fish and chips and drink cold pints, to the air freight problem is sorted now. And that's just not the case. So much capacity has already been gobbled up, and they're going to make sure that they don't overbook too many flights. I think that there's too many people right now that are celebrating this return to all this U.S. and European tourism and Asian tourism. I think it's going to be a slow trickle. I don't think you're going to see as many people flying as we thought. You're dead on, Doug. This does not help us really when it comes to rates. I think I'm just as confident as you are putting my foot down on that. Where I am interested to see this, though, is will rates be astronomical? Because now that there is something that we can put cargo on for air freight right at Christmas time, supply and demand, baby. Like, it might not be that the rates are, that it's not just the rates aren't any better. They might be crappy crap because there's just not a whole lot to choose from, bud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll refer to that as the 3 C's: crappy, crap.
Crappy crap cubed, I like to say, like the kids say today.
Yeah.
No kids say that. No. Yeah.
All right, my man, you jump in. What's your first one?
Well, can we just go 1 week without talking about Chinese geopolitics? And no. Yeah. Okay. So right now in the beautiful Pacific Rim, there is all sorts of arguing and frustration going on between practically every major close U.S. ally and our friends in China. A lot of it has to do with Chinese desire to project maritime power in areas of the South China Seas, Sea of Japan, those areas where they believe that they need to have strong focus, strong presence to keep trade moving, but also as a strong sovereign nation to show the world as a power that they do have a buffer between themselves and the rest of the world. Very recently, the United States decided to create a formal pact with Australia, Great Britain, and New Zealand, sort of a reciprocal defense contract, that if something gets jumpy down in Australia, Great Britain and the U.S. will come to the raid. Not only that, but we came to an understanding that we will be sharing very difficult to get a hold of technology in the form of nuclear power, pumps, circulators, et cetera, to help our good friends in Australia build their own nuclear submarine fleet. And that really ticked off a lot of people, most notably the French, who already had a contract going. But it also upset China, who sees this as a step away from détente, as a chilling even deeper of the Cold War between us all. And it pushed them very quickly to try to enter into even deeper trade agreements, to an even deeper push into entering what's called, what is the TPP now. So this is one of those areas where geopolitics, defense strategy, economics, and global trade are all compiling together. And I think, buddy, you're going to see more of this. I think you're going to see more countries in Asia that have a closer tie to the United States considering these sorts of arrangements. And in the long run, I think it's going to have a negative effect on the freedom of movement of cargo.
Interesting. Yeah, when I saw this one, I'm going to take the angle of one particular country, and it kind of relates to your second topic as well, but it's the UK. They got a clean slate. They're trying to do agreements and pacts with everybody across the entire world, and this is an example of them saying, we don't have to have the burden of the EU, we can do whatever we want, we can move quicker than normal. And my takeaway on this one when I first read it, beyond the geopolitical nature of what you just described, is that you're going to see a lot of headlines with a lot of pacts, trade alliances, and the UK is going to be front and center with a lot of those because they got guns ablaze, and they're going to say we're resetting the rules and the boundaries now that we're more sovereign than we have in the past. So that was the one thing that caught me on this one, that caught my attention.
Yeah, Doug, you make a great point, right? They've got nothing to lose. They're not beholden to practically anyone. So they can do what they think is right for their current situation without having to squabble with the rest of the EU. So it's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
All right, and that brings us to halftime from our good friends at Cap Logistics, www.caplogistics.com. They are a fantastic, fascinating organization that does excellent work. But more importantly, they're the folks that done bring you global trade this week for all these months now, and we thank them for it. We thank them for loaning us Keenan every week, who between coloring and working on his Lego models finds time to produce the show. So we do appreciate that. But Doug, you were fired up for halftime, and I know what it's about. So go ahead and do it.
I'm fired up, and I'm not even going to get into it too deep because the message speaks for itself, right? And I want to do one of those, from the 1960s, hot off the press. I can't even do the right sound, but it's like the old ticker, hot off the press. So this is from Brunswick, Virginia, my friend, and this is the headline. This is all I have to read. Drone delivery of prison contraband accidentally drops package at school.
Are drones the reason everything is wrong, Doug? Are they the reason that everything in your life is wrong? Are they the bugaboo that you point at, the boogeyman, and you say, "Oh, it's drones"?
It is drones. It's comical, right? I mean, everybody. Anyway, everybody knows how I feel about it. It's just like this is just a microcosm of the craziness that's going to happen when people think they're going to get a package delivered to their house while they're on their ass playing video games, and their weed or their Big Mac comes falling through the window. It doesn't exist.
I would contend, Doug, that this is just another excellent example of the utilitarian value of drones. Because it wasn't the first time they did this. So if they were able to use this to get all the way to a bunch of prisoners with all their contraband, and they got busted once, I bet they got away with it 100 times before that thing broke.
Sure.
All right, my halftime situation, real simple one, guys. On my LinkedIn right now, you can get a hold of it. There was a video that was done by Bloomberg Media, Bloomberg News. It's only 18 minutes, and it gets pretty well deep into exactly what happened with the Ever Given. And what happened, from what we can tell so far, how it impacted global trade, but more importantly, how it brought so much visibility to global trade. How people that don't work in the world that we work in suddenly cared very much about it, and it captured the global imagination. It's 18 minutes, Bloomberg Media. You can find it on my LinkedIn page. I'll give it to Doug. He can have some traffic on it too, and maybe Keenan can get off his iPad watching Wonder Pets long enough to do something with it too. That's it for halftime. So hit me with your second shot, buddy.
All right, this one, the headlines is a little bit old, but I think it's still relevant, and it's related to the consistent transportation modes and how people and companies are continuing to raise rates. So this was back, I think, end of July or early August, that the Union Pacific decided to smack on a $5,000 surcharge per rail car for low volume shippers who exceed their contracted volumes primarily out of California, but obviously into other markets. So reading between the lines, what, in my opinion, Pete, and that's what we get paid here to do, our whopping $0.00, is what's going on is that trucks are expensive, everything expensive, so go put it on the rail. Rail is a little bit slower, but it's a little less expensive. So you have all of these smaller players out there that are flipping over-the-road shipments because it's so gosh darn expensive out of California over to the rail. And the railroad's like, hey, man, we only got so much capacity and we only have so many tracks, so we got some of these big contracts that we want to be beholden to, which is what is the lifeblood of the Class 1 railroad system, right? They're gonna take the contract with FedEx, UPS, or whomever, unit trains and coal far more than others. So they're saying, hey, little guys, don't give us your overflow here because we don't want that, and if you do, you're going to pay out the nose for it. So they kind of got slapped in the hand. So what that means is that the little guys say, well, I guess I'll pay an extra $2,000 a truckload versus a $5,000 penalty, so I'll go back into the over-road trucking market. Well, the little guys don't play in contract rates. They're in the spot market. So what that means is there's more people that are going to get pushed back into the spot market of full truckload business out of gateway markets, California primarily, but there's going to be other gateways, which just means if you were trying to get into the full truckload spot market rates out of California and out of other gateways, you were going to be paying even more in fourth quarter and into Q1 of 2022 than you have, because you tried to find an outlet. Hey, the railroad's slower, it's a little bit cheaper, and the railroad said, hey man, don't give me your garbage. You're allowed 10 spaces or 20 spaces or whatever you want to say. Over that, we're going to ding you. So they got nowhere to go. Their cargo has to move. It goes back into the spot market, and around and around and around we go. Wash, rinse, and repeat. So spot market is going to be crazy for the foreseeable future on full truckloads.
Yeah, I'd like to argue with you here, Bud, but between the complexities of acquiring dray, looking for ways to get, the rail was just poised for this unbelievable opportunity, and now they're cashing in on it and profiting on it like anyone else. Yeah. This doesn't have an end in sight, Bud. We're going to see volume problems like this till at least Chinese New Year 2023, buddy. So, I'm calling it, by the way. I'm putting my flag in the dirt. That's the date. That is the date so I'm saying post Chinese New Year 2023 is when we'll start to get up over our problems. That's when I think we're going to start to see some lessons. I couldn't agree with you more, man. And talk about bad timing for this to happen too. Just when we needed that relief valve the most, they're taking their money. They're getting their bag of money, like you would expect anybody else would in that situation. It's crap timing, buddy. Yeah.
All right, man. Bring us home. What you got?
So fun topic. It's weird though. We're talking about England again. So Great Britain and their Ministry of Trade made a declaration just last week, or this week actually, last week, saying that they are going to do everything that they can to make it easier to trade with them. So they're taking a page out of the good freight forwarder book, right? I mean, all of us want it to be as easy as possible to do business with. And they're saying we are going to look at all the ways that we make it hard to trade with Great Britain, and we're going to find ways to ease them or eliminate them. And they particularly focused on e-commerce, where there are problems with taxation, problems with payment, finance, money moving from place to place. And they've just said, why do all of these impediments exist if they're not serving the crown? Let's get rid of them. And I'm telling you, man, when a country that only has 31 million people makes this decision and really jumps out there, it kind of makes you wonder, why can't a country like ours that's so dependent on e-commerce do something similar? Why aren't we as excited? It may have something to do with what you talked about earlier. They're just in a better position to take chances than we are.
Yeah, agree 100%. I got to give the UK some credit on this one. Like the EU, I kind of liken it to a big boat and a speedboat. To make changes and move and pivot with the EU, that's a massively large boat. And all of a sudden, with Brexit, they're now in a speedboat, and they can make decisions quicker. And this is a very tangible and relevant example of that happening, and we're going to see more and more. The UK and England's going to be in the news more and more about some cutting-edge trade pacts and agreements.
Do it while you can, bud. Yeah, do it while you can. While you've got the opportunity, do it while you can.
Heck yeah. So, all right, Pete, I think that's it. We made this one short and sweet. I'd love to banter back and forth a little bit more, but I got to peel off for a call here. But we would be remiss if we didn't thank our audience for listening to us today. We always appreciate it. I don't see many comments, so if you got comments on what we're talking about, pop it in the comments section below.
Or drop it off at Doug's house with a drone. You can do that too. Yeah, or his office.
Yeah, 123 Main Street, yada yada yada, Tennessee.
Anytown,
Anytown, USA. And also thanks to Cap Logistics and Keenan for pushing the buttons and working it in the box. Again, great company, great supporters of the show, and we can't thank them enough. So other than that, Pete, that's all I got. I want to thanks again. Good to see you. And we'll get into some your life pivots on the next show when we have a little bit more time.
Okay, bud. I'll see y'all next week. Thanks, Doug.
All right. Take care, guys. See you. Bye.